I actually have nothing to say.
That was you had so much time to think.
Like 15 seconds.
You had so much time to anything.
I wonder when the last time was.
Have you listened?
Started talking first.
Has it happened?
It has to be at least a calendar year.
Yes.
If you've listened to any episode of this podcast, which I have not.
Is that directed at me?
Yeah.
Or like you as like the general?
No, you, Evan. Me, Ryan. We're supposed to be saying names more often. I, Ryan, am saying to you, Evan, if you've listened to any of these episodes, our barrier for entry, in terms of what a good opening is not high. Like that, it's not a high bar to reach.
No.
And you still flopped miserably.
You know what? It's just been one of those days where I just don't have it in me today.
Oh, hey, happy birthday, man.
Thank you.
You ruined it. It's not Evan's birthday. It's my birthday.
Oh, I couldn't tell what the joke was.
And I was going to say...
What was the punchline?
You were going to say, it's not my birthday, and then I was going to say, oh, I thought we had the same birthday, and then you're going to say, happy birthday, Ryan. It's from The Office. And you botched it.
Okay, new rule. I'm opening every episode from here on out.
Nope. Sorry. I'm a big fan of how this went, so...
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, Brad.
Hi.
Brad Crisco.
I am Brad.
That's Brad over there. And this is the Winged Wheel Podcast, mostly. We are all now over the age of 25.
Wow.
Yeah.
God, you're old.
Yeah.
I legitimately thought you were like turning 21.
No, you did not. There's no
25 is legitimately older than I thought you actually were turning.
I know, because you guys have been saying I'm young for so long that I got old.
Yeah, we started this podcast when you were like 21, and I just assumed you haven't aged since.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm always surprised when I remember you're 30, and you're 31 now.
I'm 31.
Ha! Ew!
God, that's gross. That is gross.
Evan, you're not far behind there.
People are going to start feeling bad for you, Brad.
Why? 31's the new 33. It's fine.
Is it?
You don't want to be... What? That's not good.
Yeah, I know, it's not.
Isn't
it's
it
terrible.
supposed to be the other way around?
Today
No, you feel older and more tired.
That is true. I do feel tired.
More tired. I'm exhausted already. How am I going to feel more tired than this?
Man, you don't even have a kid
I work
yet.
with people who don't drink coffee in the morning. And they're there before me. I'm like, how is that possible?
It's a lot of serial killers in one office building.
Yeah, I know. And they all sit very close to me.
Yeah.
You guys do remember I don't drink coffee, right?
It does not surprise me, though.
You're an abhorrent representation of the worst that nature has to offer. I need you to know that.
Fair.
You're an anomaly in the worst of every way.
And I work at a gym, too, which seems just really counterproductive.
No, it needs to happen. So all your energy is freed somewhere so Crystal can tolerate you for 2 seconds.
That's fair.
It's true.
You rile up your kid.
This is true.
Brad had his kid nearly 3 years ago now, and he has been more energetic since. He seems to understand that having a kid is supposed to exhaust you and is a lot of work, but it's not demonstrated in his overall demeanor or level of energy at any given point. Some
really
days
doesn't make sense.
Yeah, some days when I'm tired and I come here, I'm like, oh, well, I can have some peace and quiet while I sit with Brad in the basement, which is just a stupid thought. It's a stupid thought.
The trick is, the real secret of it all is drugs.
So much cocaine.
Just
oh God, so much.
you can mix it into protein shakes, sprinkle it on your food, go the old-fashioned way. Just, it's the only way to get through the day.
On this week's episode of the Winged Wheel Podcast, we are going to be talking about, it's our usual gamut. We're going to be talking about the Wings in general. We're going to be talking a little bit about that 3-game win streak that the Red Wings went on, which is peculiar.
And then subsequently ended.
And then subsequently ended by the hands of one Connor McDavid. As Evan mentioned in the pre-show, Kyle Brodziak.
Yes.
The second topic, we're going to be talking about the way that the rest of the league has been. The LA Kings had a little bit of a firing spree today, and talking about the standings and how life isn't so swell in Toronto right now, and the whole bit. Then we'll get into overtime, and
I'm sure there's no way the LA conversation is going to relate back to Detroit in any way.
No, I don't see how. We should just say that now before we get there, so people don't get their hopes up. It can't possibly relate.
I
to
see
Detroit.
no correlation here at all.
We can actually just end the episode now because there's no way that we can ever connect those dots.
Yeah, we didn't plan any quick hits for the record. I just thought of that.
It's harder to do quick hits when we're doing 2 episodes a week.
It's true. I'm sure we'll think of something.
Yeah. If you guys are listening and have thoughts on a segment to add in place of quick hits, or more of a stylized option for quick hits. Or, you know, if you just have feedback in general, hit us with it. Tweet at us, @WingedWheelPod. Follow it. And then go to the bio and follow the individual accounts. That's where the real good stuff is.
Oh, yeah.
Someone actually tweeted at me during the Devils game. They're like, at least Brad's now admitting that his Twitter timeline is a dark, dark place during games.
You know, I wasn't able to catch I wasn't able to be on Twitter for most of the last 2 games, let alone catch a lot of the last 2 games. And then for the little bits that I got in there, I was like, oh boy, this place is rambunctious right now. I did tweet one thing, which is that Trevor Daley is utterly useless.
Yes.
What is he doing with his skates or his stick or his hands at any given moment?
And if you've noticed, my favorite part about Trevor Daley is his usage right now, where during the 3-game winning streak, every time the Red Wings were protecting a lead with under a minute left, he was on the ice. And then the game against Edmonton, where they were losing by 1 with a minute left, he was also on the ice.
That veteran presence out there.
Yeah.
I don't really understand the rationale behind pretending that he isn't doing what he's doing, which is an affront to the position of defense in hockey.
I remember during the Devils game when the Wings had that lead, that 1-goal lead with a minute left, I sent out a tweet along the lines of, please don't stop putting Eriksson and Daley on the ice during these situations, and I didn't even hit send on the tweet yet, and Eriksson took a penalty.
It came to the point where Mickey Redmond was predicting it. He's like, well, the Red Wings keep getting hemmed in. This line's hemming them in. It's gonna hurt them. And there they go. They took a penalty right there. It's just some weird things worked. I'm convinced that the only reason the Red Wings won 3 games is because the media team put out that funny 3 keys to the game, which is pass, shoot, and score.
It's more than they've done most games.
Yeah. But besides that, a lot of it just happens to be dumb luck in my mind.
Well, we talked about the Dallas game last episode, but legitimately, Eriksson wrist shot from the blue line goes in the net, and a Nicholas Kronwall dump in hits a stanchion and goes in front of the net, and Tyler Bertuzzi has an empty net. That game was a legitimate fluke. There was what other game was in the streak? There was the New Jersey game was part of the streak, but I would say Detroit legitimately outplayed New Jersey that game.
Columbus. Oh, they lost?
Yeah,
they beat Columbus.
The win against Columbus in which they blew a 3-goal lead.
Yeah.
So they outplayed Columbus in the first period, and then Columbus ran their show the final 2 periods, but a good play by Cholowski and Bertuzzi near the end saved the game. So yeah, it was a 3-game winning streak, but one of them was deserved. Hey, and it's gonna happen. That's hockey. You can PDO some games. Goalie can steal a game for you. You get a couple bounces. It happens. Because even if you go back earlier in the year, the loss to Anaheim, Detroit should have had that game handily. The loss to LA, Detroit should have had that game. Those even out over the course of a season where, yeah, you should have won that game, but you didn't. You should have lost that game, but you didn't. So I never dwell on that kind of thing too much. So it was fun while it lasted. I was actually enjoying watching Red Wings hockey for a little bit there, and I'm very grateful I only had to watch 1 period of the game last night. It was... For those who are following me on Twitter, you saw my pain right away when I tweeted before the game, hey guys, I'm only going to be here for 1 period of this game, so let's just get 1 good period in, and then Edmonton scored 12 seconds.
Again, I don't understand why you'd tweet something so stupid. It was Connor McDavid. I think it was
12 seconds.
12 seconds. The notification came on my phone that the puck dropped, and then the next notification rolled in that they had scored.
We couldn't have waited till the 12-minute mark when I was getting dressed and getting ready to leave the house.
No, sir.
That would have been fine with me.
Yeah, no, sir.
No, but yeah.
We're at a point now. That 3-game win streak was great. There's a lot of positives. For example, even in the loss to Edmonton, curly fries. The whole time curly fries. It's just a sea of curly fries, which is phenomenal because I heard a lot of people saying "Oh, F off Arby's," you jerks, I hope you go bankrupt because of this. Those people clearly don't understand the economics of potatoes and a little bit of seasoning. I digress. I think it's great of Arby's to lower the standards because people need their fries. And it's hilarious and so poetic that the moment that that promotion actually has been going on for some time now where they lowered the standard, but it's Prashant's tweet that kind of sent it out into the hockey media world. But since it blew up, Detroit, I think, has had 3 goals every single game.
Yeah, the offense looks capable, despite the defense struggling to get them the puck. We talked at length about Dylan Larkin on Thursday, so we won't do that again, but how he looks like, hey, we have a true number 1 center here, but The one guy that we were talking about for the episode we want to do a bit of a deep dive on today, Tyler Bertuzzi. There's so many hockey cliches that you just kind of like hear and you brush off, and it's just like, that's just coach speak for I like this guy. But you hear coaches say he does all the little things well. And you're like, yeah, what the hell does that even mean? Nobody knows what the hell it means, but Tyler Bertuzzi does all the little things well. So I think we were talking a couple weeks ago about how the fan base seemed really high on Tyler Bertuzzi, and we weren't all there yet on the, he might not be a top 6 forward. And then I started to pay a bit more attention to it, and I'm like, you know what, maybe there's something here. So over the last couple weeks, we've paid very close attention to Tyler Bertuzzi, and he is absolutely a top 6 forward. I haven't looked up the stats yet, but one of the underrated parts of his game that I never realized before, his zone entries are so clean, and he does it so well. There was an kind of relating to the same thing, there was an interview with John Tavares about 3 or 4 years ago, where Tavares said that anybody in the NHL can handle a clean puck easily. When the puck's laying flat on the ice and it's tape to tape, anybody can do that. It's learning to corral a bouncing puck that's stuck in your feet, the pass is 2 feet off, it's hopping over your blade, or it just won't stick. You have to be able to do something with that. Bertuzzi's coordination with those is phenomenal. Like, you watch a lot of his zone entries, a lot of his play off the cycle, that puck is not clean for him, and he's picking up off his foot, he's batting it out of the air. I mean, his goal against Edmonton, that thing was what, nipple height, and he just took a full baseball swing and put it in?
Did you just say nipple height?
Yeah. It's funny, it's funnier than saying chest height.
You gotta give me a heads up, man.
No.
You can't just drop nipple height as I'm half listening to you.
Yeah, you seemed very
Up
distracted.
around the nips.
Jeez.
Yeah, and he just took a full-on swing there, and
Was that your way of bringing me back in?
it absolutely was.
Yeah, I wasn't paying attention at all.
I was paying attention. I was just looking at my screen quite a bit.
Sorry, I was multitasking.
You were talking about last episode how you tend to zone out when I'm talking, so now I'm going to just throw stuff out there to keep you on point.
It worked. You know what? It worked.
But no, yeah, so again, it was one of those things where we talk about, and we tell the listeners, hey, we want you guys to kind of pay attention to this, because I don't think we're getting the player or the team or whatever is getting a lot of credit for the things they're doing. Like we were talking about with Cholowski and his vision and his point shot, like just watch how he gets it through. Watch Tyler Bertuzzi when he gets the puck in the offensive zone or on the entry. He is so good at it. Like, it's him, Larkin, and Athanasiou are the only 3 players on this team I think capable of actually having a clean zone entry. But
Tyler Bertuzzi, and this is by no means like, deep dive of a piece of analysis, but he plays in general with the tenacity and determination and fearlessness of a player who is still fighting for a roster spot, which is something that I appreciate about him. He's one of those players who doesn't seem to have that fear instilled in him of crashing the net or beating the defenseman to the puck in the end boards just because he's afraid of taking the hit, or taking a high risk, high reward pass at a time where the Wings might need it. He gets his nose dirty, but he also has the talent to kind of fill in the gaps when he's moving down the ice, and that leads to, he'll win a scrum on the sideboards and translate it into a clean breakout pass or a good zone entry, using his skill and using his strong skating and everything. He's not a phenomenal skater, but the guy works hard. It's a relieving thing to have a guy who does that, who isn't a Glendening skill level. And that's not a knock on Glendening. Your grinders should have that level of determination. But with the current iteration of the Detroit Red Wings, namely Jeff Blashill, and before that even Mike Babcock, that was overly rewarded and overemphasized in terms of ice time. And so you would have low-skill guys like Glendening, or do have low-skill guys like Glendening with a ton of ice time just because the coach likes the way they play. So for Bertuzzi to be doing that, opening up that space, creating opportunities for talented players around him like Larkin and Mantha and whoever else, that's the kind of change of pace Detroit needs. We do a lot. Admittedly, we do a lot of. Objectively, is this player top this, top that, top 6, second line, whatever. And it's not unproductive, but sometimes it's not quite so valuable because it's kind of silly to look outside of the scope of the Red Wings. So I'm not going to get into whether Tyler Bertuzzi is truly a top 6 forward in the league, but on these Red Wings he is, and he's earning it. He's got 8 points in 14 games, which is perfectly fine for a team that's not been scoring a lot and lost a lot of its offensive character when Henrik Zetterberg retired. He's been, outside of Cholowski, my go-to for the best start to the season, especially for a player who had a lot of leaps forward ahead of him, if that makes sense.
Yes.
I would say Bertuzzi has had a better start to the season in terms of expectations than Larkin. Not by a lot, but
By expectation, yeah, because Bertuzzi was like a half a point game per player last year, and we were all impressed with that, but I think most of the fan base was like, that's great, but is he really going to be a half a point per game player in the NHL? But like I said, here he is, just a hair over it this season. Again, he's like most players on the Red Wings, and again, we talked about how the Red Wings issue is they don't have a lot of playmakers, and Tyler Bertuzzi is not one of those.
yeah.
He's the guy who finishes plays. But, hey, you need guys like that. Actually, that's kind of my argument for keeping Gus Nyquist, because he seems to be about the only playmaker on the team at the moment.
I know what you're saying, and it's a romantic idea in my mind, but the guy has done so well to start the season. Like, his talent has just transcended all of the crap that this team has gone through. Like, he's been able to maintain most, if not all of that. You gotta sell with the value that high.
He's got full no move, might not matter.
I don't think he'll block it. I really don't think he would block the trade. He has to see the writing on the wall, right?
Well, yeah, because it's the thing is Detroit's brass is pretty open and honest with their players. So I would imagine there's going to be a conversation going along the lines of you sign an extension before.
Not if you ask Mike Commodore.
Yeah. Well, no, he only hated Babcock. But you know, you go to Gus. All right, sign an extension before the trade deadline. If not, we're going to take that as a sign that you want out. So why would you not waive your no move clause, right? So if he signs an extension, great. If he has no intention on staying, he probably won't have a problem waiving the clause. So it should resolve itself either way. But yeah, circling back to Bertuzzi, I'm curious to see if this is going to be sustainable for the full year, though. He is still young. He's only, 23, 24. This is his second full season in the NHL, if we can even call last year a full season, because he only played, 50, 60 games, something like that.
How old is he?
Late call.
He is 23, yeah.
Yeah, so bit of room for growth there, but not a ton. Again, he is what he is. The pieces are starting to fall in place for Detroit. They just need a couple more draft picks to hit, and the turnaround's there. Because again, he's tied for third on the team in points right now with Dennis Cholowski.
A few pieces need to hit, and then the team turns around. In my mind, is a slight understatement.
I don't think it's that big of an understatement.
The Red Wings still have virtually no solid defensive core. Still are lacking at a superstar player.
Like I said, few pieces need to hit. Does include defensemen. We need Hronek to come up and be good. We need one of Sulak or Hickett's to come up and be good. Because if those three guys are legitimately good NHLers, that's half your D right there. That doesn't include any free agents they might bring in, and that's even assuming that the rest of them bust.
But where free agents exist in the world of defense that would come in. Trevor Daley. There's just no one feasible. It's like you're gonna hate me for this comparison, but it's like it's like playing in a deep fantasy sports league, fantasy hockey, or fantasy football even. And at this point in the season, trying to find an RB1, like a top running back, it just doesn't exist out there. It's not gonna happen through free agency. It's just like
it's not. But again, my example was. We only need two of Detroit's vast system of prospects to hit to have half your defense made up for the next 10 years.
To hit.
Only two. That doesn't factor in. So let's just say it's Sulak and Hronek since they looked the most promising. We go with Cholowski.
Sulak's not going to be much better than he is.
No,
now.
But you still need good
third
pairing guys. You still need those guys. You just need your third pairing guy to outperform their third pairing guy. And then it doesn't factor in if Sarjärvi hits. Jared McIsaac's having a huge year in the queue. Gustav Lindstrom's the number one defenseman on a pro team in Sweden right now. There are other guys coming in, even if Hickett's and whoever else in Grand Rapids do not pan out. And again, the one thing you do want to see, right now the only real concern in Detroit's system of what you would want to see is Zadina. He's the only one that's really been underperforming expectations this year of guys that we had serious hope for. a guy like David Pope not doing much in Grand Rapids, whatever. We never considered him much of a serious prospect anyway. Sure, he might fill in on the third or fourth line here and there someday, but whatever. Valendo's having a huge year. McIsaac's having a huge year. Berggren's playing in pro in Sweden. It's fine. But again, circling the conversation back, it's good to see the guys on the roster, Athanasiou, Bertuzzi, Larkin, taking that step forward. Even Michael Rasmussen has looked a lot better the last 4 games.
Where I'm at, I'm going to jump back to Zadina for a second. Where I'm at with Zadina is, yeah, fine. He didn't have his breakout year this year. He's not coming in like Pettersson. Well, Pettersson didn't come in his first year,
yeah.
But he's not coming in producing like Pettersson did this year, for example. That, in my mind, does not for a single second mean that we should not have been every bit as hyped for drafting Zadina as we were. It doesn't even knock a point off of his potential in my mind. This is the standard for how a top-end prospect who is not a Connor McDavid, even Nico Hischier in my mind was on, Nico Hischier is a very underrated top first overall pick, but even he, a little bit worse, for example, Nolan Patrick's first season, a little bit worse than that, and you could have had justification to spend considerable time in the minors. And that was a great season. Marred by injury, but I digress. Zadina taking an extra year before figuring it all out is not at all an indictment onto him, onto Detroit's draft, onto how important that pick was to the team and his potential to turn out to be the scoring star that the Red Wings need. I feel like that's important to say because I think a lot of us are surprised, and that's fair, by Zadina's start. But it's not the end of the world. It would have been nice to see him up and scoring goals and, lighting up the crowd and energizing and filling the LCA now, but it is what it is.
He's still a half a point per game player in the AA, which isn't terrible, especially for an 18-year-old, because so few 18-year-olds actually get into that league. And everybody says, listen to a lot of the powers that be in the NHL, they say the hardest jump is from junior to pro, not the AHL to the NHL. So once he adapts in the AHL, it's going to be a lot easier for him to transition to the NHL. So again, I'm not down on him, but it's just the excitement level has tempered because we didn't see a huge start from him.
Yeah.
So
if he doesn't come up till halfway through the season, fine. If he doesn't come up this season at all, legitimately, I'll be mad if we don't get at least an 8-9 game preview of him. But if that's all we get, then whatever, man.
It's fine. And again, we have to understand with Zadina, he is what he is. He is, again, we were mentioning it about Bertuzzi earlier, Zadina is not the guy to set up other guys. He's not the playmaker. He's the play finisher. You can say what you want about how good or bad Grand Rapids is, but over the last few games, his line mates have been Matt Pumple and Christopher N. Matt Pumple, fine AHL player. He is the same player as Zadina. They are play finishers, and Christopher N is not exactly an elite offensive force here. So Zadina is a good candidate for me. How you talk about some guys play better at a higher level because they just play better with better players. They know how to work off those players. So you put, I don't think if you put Zadina in the NHL right now, you put him on a line with Larkin and Nyquist, who the hell ever, but legitimately some of the better players on the Red Wings, I don't think his stats would be any worse than they are in Grand Rapids right now. They might even be better because he's got that capability of finishing the play, right? And he's going to have better players setting him up. So, again, should the hype level on Zadina be as much as it was when we drafted him? No, because he's not really blowing the doors off the AHL, but should we be down on Zadina because of it? No, you're right on that. Whatever, it's 10 games. He's got 5 points. It's not like he's floundering.
Moving on to an important player for us to discuss at every given opportunity, Dennis Cholesky. Continues to be through, 13 games in? Something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
Legitimate Calder candidate.
Oh yeah, he's still up there. Best rookie defenseman in the NHL this year so far. The only real competitors he has is Yoka Haru in Chicago, who again you could argue has more of a supporting cast, and Max Lajoie in Ottawa. Lajoie has, you could argue, less of a supporting cast, but Lajoie is also more of an anomaly because he has not been an offensive force at any level of hockey that he's ever played. So, Should we expect a bit of regression from Cholowski and Jokiharju throughout the year? Yeah, probably. Like, having rookie defensemen near a point per game doesn't happen. Should we expect as much regression from those two as we will Lajoie? No, Lajoie is probably going to... Well, I mean, Ottawa lost 9-2 to Buffalo, so...
One thing that I'd like to add about Jokiharju, Jokiharju, who knows?
Jokiharju.
He sure has a good supporting cast in Chicago. I mean, I don't think they're a particularly amazing team, but one of the biggest upsides to his game is his individual defensive prowess and his decision-making ability and he screams a mature defenseman who's seen these scenarios and played through them hundreds of times already, and meanwhile he's played 15 NHL games. So I would contend that his supporting cast, good or bad, is kind of notwithstanding, or is not included in terms of how I would evaluate him. I think it's the way he's played and what he's done has been more of an individual, not an individual effort, but has been more on him than the team around him.
No, it's true. You're always the master of your own destiny, but at the same time too, you can make the argument comparing the two. Jokiharju playing for one of the best coaches in the NHL in a system that's probably adapted very well for him, whereas Dennis Cholowski is a puck-moving defenseman playing in one of the worst breakout systems in the history of the NHL. So,
if it was these two guys and no, Pettersson or Middlestat or whoever else in terms of the Calder voting,
Middlestat's done nothing.
Oh, he scored a nice goal in a 9-2 game.
Yeah, and I think it was the 9th goal.
Listen, Brad, it was a nice goal. I was just throwing out a big name for people to latch on to. If it was just Cholowski versus Jokiharju, obviously Cholowski would win. He's shown a more complete game, not a perfect game. I think Jokiharju's defensive game is significantly better.
And Cholowski had a pretty bad mistake in the game against Edmonton that led directly to a goal. But hey, he's a rookie defenseman. That happens.
He's definitely the most exciting rookie defenseman in the league this year.
Yeah. Oh yeah, easily. Much to the very pleasant surprise of all of Detroit. We needed reasons to be happy this year.
We did. Something important that happened was right after Mantha kind of went on his little slump and everyone would start to focus in on it. He scored a couple. Rasmussen scored his first 2. Larkin's continuing to put up points. He's got 15 and 14?
Yeah, something like that. He's on a pretty decent point streak rate at this moment, too.
Or he's got 15 points total. Yeah, 15 points in 14 games. Sold. Your daughter's having a blast up there.
She's been grumpy today.
Yeah. Didn't like those stats.
No.
Well,
it's because she doesn't like that he's a -6, but to Mika would say is, you really, on this kind of team, you cannot be using plus-minus to evaluate.
I mean, the team's got a -16 goal differential, so -6 in relative terms isn't that bad.
Is this still worse than the team? Or worse than the league?
No, LA has overtaken Detroit as the worst goal differential.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh, I think Mika made it down here. Oh, that's not good.
We'll have a guest.
Yeah, you guys will have a guess. I was uploading to YouTube today and I saw little disclaimers like, be careful if there's minors in your videos, like child labor laws and everything like that. I'm like, as if Mika could do any valuable work for us. As if we could give her any kind of stage direction as to what to say. She was more controllable when she drooled all over my laptop.
I do remember that.
Yeah. Oh, there she is.
There she is.
Wow.
You keep talking, I'll be right back.
Moving on to the rest of the league.
Mommy found her. We're a professional podcast.
Moving on to the rest of the league. For now, Detroit isn't the worst goal differential any longer. That belongs to LA, who through one fewer game has a -17 goal differential compared to Detroit's -16. Yeah, which culminated in a little bit of a firing spree. Do you want to give us the details on that, Brad?
Yeah, they fired some people. The head coach, John Stevens, and assistant coach, name I'm forgetting and don't have it in front of me.
I gave it to you because I couldn't remember his assistant coach's name.
Yeah, well, they fired both of them because, it was a struggling hockey team that,
was underperforming.
Yeah, so...
Wasn't expected to do well. I mean, losing Jonathan Quick for some time because of a torn meniscus hurts them for sure.
But they were not good before he went down, so I don't think that factored in at all. The difference between LA and Detroit is LA was expected to be good this year. They did not pick up Ilya Kovalchuk for a rebuild.
No.
And they are one of the oldest teams in the NHL who are still in their window. Man, LA, if you want to know what LA is right now, honestly, we have to look to Detroit 3 years ago. 4 years ago. There is almost no differences. They're an aging team who's coming off a very long string of success in cups, who's just trying to keep it going. Because you look at Kopitar and Quick and Dustin Brown and now Kovalchuk and a couple of the other contracts on that team right now, they can't rebuild.
You mean Drew Doughty? His $11 million contract?
Has that even kicked in yet? No, that hasn't even kicked in yet. That's next year.
Yeah, that's next year.
So a lot of people are saying LA needs to tear it down, and honestly that's what they need to do, but they can't. Because when you have Drew Doughty, Ilya Kovalchuk, Andrzej Kopitar, there's only so bad you can be. And again, LA's terrible this year, but I don't think there's anybody on the planet who thinks they're going to be this bad all year.
They have Jeff Carter at 33 making...
Jeff Carter's only 33.
Yeah.
He's been 33 for 7 years.
That's actually a great description of Jeff Carter.
I legitimately thought he was closing in on 40. Like, I'm not going to lie.
You got Dustin Brown who's 34 making nearly 6. You got Ilya Kovalchuk who's 35 making over 6. Andrzej Kopitar is 31 who's making 10. And I'm not to say these guys aren't necessarily worth it, but just to give you an idea of the direction their money's going.
Some of them aren't.
Drew Doughty will be 29 when his $11 million deal kicks in.
And there's term left on almost all of these, which is the real concerning part.
Dion Phaneuf is making over 5. Alec Martinez is at 4. Jake Muzzin's at 4.
Did Ottawa retain a bunch of salary on Phaneuf, though?
When Cody Ceci was injured for that string of games there, Dion Phaneuf was the highest paid defenseman on the Ottawa Senators, and he was playing for LA.
Yeah, they're hurting right now.
What do you do if you're LA? Because again, you got to do something to get going, and you never like.
You got to write it. That's just too much of a logjam. You're gonna be bad for a little while.
They don't have a choice. They almost have to keep buying. As dumb as it is to say, because again, they're not in a position to rebuild. They can't. There's no way.
They have all their draft picks for the next 3 years.
Yeah, which is good. You don't go crazy on the rebuild. But again, you look at that team. Should they be this bad? They have their flaws. They're not.
No, they shouldn't be this bad.
They're not a fast team, and that's a big problem in the NHL nowadays. But they have a good goalie. Andrzej Kopitar is one of the best players on the face of the earth. Drew Doughty is one of the best defensemen on the face of the earth, and they don't have the worst supporting cast around them.
That should count for something.
Yeah.
So if you're ever looking at a team that goes, yeah, honestly, the coach needed to be fired, it's these guys because they're underperforming. I will even sit here and say, as much as I want Jeff Blashill out yesterday, Detroit's performing to expectations this year. You can't exactly pin that on Blashill. I mean, I blame him for a lot of other things, but if you took this roster as it is and said, hey, they're going to be one of the worst teams in the league, you go, yeah, that's right. If you took LA's roster as it is and said right now and said they're going to be one of the worst teams in the league, you'd just be like, are you sure?
I could see them. I could definitely have predicted them being on the losing end of a chaotic Pacific Division or a tough West, but not this bad.
Missing the playoffs, sure. Finishing 9th, 10th, maybe even 11th in the West, absolutely. That is not out of the realm of possibility if I would have seen this roster. Dead last in the whole league?
That's hard. I don't think it's sustainable either.
No,
you know what? They
not.
have Peter Budaj and Jack Campbell in that, and as silly of a thing that this is to say, and Adam Lascaris is definitely going to clip this and tweet it out in 3 years when it makes me look like an idiot. Budaj is a very capable goalie who can step in. I could see that.
Been running Jack Campbell, but he had a good game against Detroit.
They're both fine and will hardly be the crux of this team,
which is the bigger problem. Because what is the crux of this team? And the thing with LA that I look at and go, wow, is not an individual or positional problem. They're just not fast. And the way the NHL is going, you need some speed. Detroit's not the fastest team in the world. But Larkin, Athanasiou, and Helm can move, so they at least have guys who fit the bill, and you can get one of those guys on the ice at almost all times, right? So it's not devastating. Who's a burner on LA? Even their younger players who are exciting to watch are not burners. Tyler Toffoli is not winning a foot race. Tanner Pearson is not winning a foot race.
Dion Phaneuf moves adequately, and I will not stand or abide by anything else, Bradley. I don't know why I just decided to stand up for Dion Phaneuf, but it just felt like a thing to do.
Because you don't want to get double Dion'd.
Don't want to get double Dion'd. So my first thought when I was actually gaming with my friend when the LA news came out, and he goes, "Oh, LA just fired all their coaches." And I was like, "Oh, well, that makes sense." He's like, "Why?" I'm like, "They've been really, really bad this year, like exceptionally bad." He goes, "Hasn't Detroit been exceptionally bad?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's a great observation. Detroit has been exceptionally bad. He's like, well, I'm like, it's different. There is a little bit more volatility in terms of management over the past like 18 months or so in LA, and that's for sure important to note. If you thought Detroit was volatile, very few moves have actually been made in terms of Detroit's administration. It's just kind of all the thought of.
Disco Dan!
But it's just Detroit's organization is so slow to make those changes. Really, if LA's performance to this point is the bar to fire a coach, Jeff Blashill should have been fired by the end of October.
Well, we'll get in. Jeff Blashill should have been fired 2 years ago, but that's neither here nor there at this point. Again, Blashill's going to ride out this season. I'm all but confident. Because again, can we blame this season on Blashill? No.
We don't can blame go on Red Wings' Facebook then.
We can blame him for a lot of problems with this team, but this wasn't a playoff team with or without him. So
we can blame it. The thing that kills me is, yes, they've won. They won those 3 games, and that's great. I still cannot fathom a world where Jacob De La Rose on the second line is the correct choice.
To be fair, the entire second line is out with injury right now. Literally, the full second line as they were constructed.
You're right. That's a bad example
and
of his.
De La Rose scored last game.
Yeah, I think what you're trying to say is the player utilization by Jeff Blashill.
100%. Thank you.
Yeah, Darren Helm should never be on the first line. Fight me, Rohan.
He messaged me. It's actually Rowan.
Rowan.
Yeah.
Fight me, Rowan.
Like, it's...
Darren Helm's a fine player. I actually, contract aside, I actually really like Darren Helm as a player. He's tremendously useful in your middle.
Is there any team other than us in the NHL who deploys a Darren Helm on the first line?
God, no.
It's not the singular Darren Helm on the first line. The battery on the laptop is... there's not a single player on the first line. I got distracted. Brad?
Regroup.
There is not a Darren Helm on the first line on any other team.
No. The act of having Darren Helm on the first line in and of itself is not what's hurting us. It's the fact that it's Darren Helm on the first line, Luke Glendening on the second line. You know, DeKaiser and Daly playing 24 minutes a night.
It's a summation of those things.
It's true. It's never the one act on its own with Jeff Blashill. It's all of the things.
And I was listening to some sports radio yesterday, and you guys are going to love this stat. So Sportsnet was interviewing Ken Daniels, and they asked him a question. Who's been the second best forward on this team outside of after Dylan Larkin, right? And he's like, well, I'd like to say Athanasiou, but he's been injured or whatever. So playing right now, Tyler Bertuzzi's been really good, but honestly, it's probably been Luke Glendening. And then he threw out a stat. Shift times irrelevant, but if you look at volume of shifts, number of times they have jumped over the boards to step on the ice, Luke Glendening was top 5 in the league according to Ken Daniels.
Is like that good? Because other people in that conversation are Sidney Crosby, Connor McDavid, Nathan McKinnon.
And that's not even a testament to what's the testament to the skill of hopping over the boards? Like, just because you get deployed doesn't make you good.
No, but I'm branching off your point here. This is how Jeff Blashill coaches his team, where the guy outside of Dylan Larkin he likes to throw on the ice the most is Luke Glendening.
Are we upset? I can't tell if we're upset.
Yeah, it sucks.
We are upset. So again, to round out the point Ryan was making about Jeff Blashill, since we said we wouldn't get back to Detroit on this LA Kings conversation. This team was doomed this season with or without Blashill. But Blashill's player deployment is somehow worse than Mike Babcock's. It's worse than any other player in the league. It's harmful to the development of the young players on this team. And if this were a good NHL team actually vying for a playoff spot, he would be ruining it. Also, his systems are terrible, and he has no redeeming qualities as coach. Anyways.
His memes per 60 is still pretty up there.
I can't look at his face anymore.
Yeah, I don't know if... I haven't watched as many games this year, so I don't know if he's trending upwards or downwards on his meme per 60. Is it up or down this year?
I think there's one floating around right now of him actually trying to pick his own nose with his tongue. I swear to God, that's what it looks like.
Blashill's meme ability this year hasn't increased as significantly as the level of self-deprecation has. And so, in contrast, he looks a lot less memeable, but truly he's the same coach he was before.
My vague knowledge of football... That's the stupidest thing I've ever said on
this show.
Is it LA, the Rams, who have a really young coach?
Sean McVay. Hottest guy alive.
By the way, I don't know what...
Wow. That wasn't where I was going. But
he's just like... He's the coach of the best team in the league. His wife's a smoke show.
We're tangential from what I was trying to say.
Hangs out with the hottest dudes.
It was something. Oh boy. There was a quote from him, I think, last week about how one of the reporters asked, like, they said, "Oh, why did you decide to go for it on 4th and 1 in this moment?" And he says, it's something like we rather, attack for success than something with. Fuck! I wish I could find the quote, but it was exactly like the opposite mindset that Blashill has. He plays his veterans all the time, and we lose games by 1 goal, and everyone's like, "Well, at least we gave it a good effort."
Blashill constantly runs his team like they're up 3-1 in a first-round playoff series with a 2-goal lead in the third.
Yeah.
That's like he's just...
And even then I disagree with that strategy.
For sure. I get it. The young guys that he has to work with this year... Remove everything else. The young guys he has to work with this year aren't phenomenal defensively. They're not phenomenal at puck possession, at deploying systems, at... making the right play.
Possession, you're talking about Michael Rasmussen and Dennis Cholowski, literally the strength of their game.
No, I'm saying as a whole, like you have they had Libor Shrulak on the ice for an extended period of time. Sorry, I'm recovering because it's my birthday. I don't know how I shoehorn that in there, but this team's not perfect. We're talking about systems, but when you have a young and experienced team as he does, or the decaying bodies of Thomas Vanek and Nick Cronwall, those systems are going to kind of be frayed. And so he has to try and constantly battle the fact that the other team's going to have a lot of opportunities based on Detroit's mistakes. And who do you put out there for that? Your defensively responsible, sound, defensive guys like Luke Glendening, who will help your defensemen out.
Sound defensive players in the Detroit Red Wings, that sentence begins and ends with Luke Glendening. There's nobody else.
Exactly. And so he feels that he has to constantly be out there to check for it. But, the season was lost before the puck dropped in Detroit on October 4th. And that's fine. We know that with this team. And he's just constantly trying to fight it rather than focusing on moving forward and finding success even in the face of overwhelming defeats.
So sorry, I found the quote. So it was like they're asking about this risky 4th down conversion, and they decided to go for it. And they asked him why they did it. And he said, "We attack success. We don't fear failure."
Love it. Love it. In a season like this, where you have a young defenseman like Dennis Cholowski showing a ton of promise, is this not the time to teach him how to handle the last minute with a lead? Hey, go out there, lock this down. They're going to be coming a million miles an hour. Learn to handle it, because if you blow a lead this year, who cares? But 2 years from now, who's the guy we're going to want on the ice in that scenario? In all likelihood, Cholowski.
It's better to learn it now when the losses are, essentially meaningless,
and
than when the games mean something and they become more and more important.
Exactly. Honestly, every key situation the Red Wings face this year, I would want at least one rookie on the ice.
We need to stop putting out the guys who are 1 to 3 years on expiring contracts.
What is having Jonathan Erickson and Trevor Daley out there in the last minute of the game accomplish at this point? If you're trying to protect the lead and you legitimately need this win, okay, well that's just the wrong call to begin with. But even at that, they're both gone next year, after next year, because their contracts are expired and you're not going to re-sign them. You're not helping any development there. They're basically a million years old. If you're down by a goal with a minute left, throw out Rasmussen, throw out N if he's back up, throw out Cholowski. Get him used to it. If you're down by a goal with a minute left, throw out Rasmussen, throw out Cholowski. Let them learn the scenarios. Everybody says, well, it's high pressure, the rookies it's hard for them to adapt. Yeah, that's the point.
You know what, if we were a bubble team and, points are tight or we're trying to win the division and solidify one of the playoff spots, I get playing veterans in those moments to seal out wins or bring the game back, but we're not. So just put out the younger players, let them develop, and don't let them fear failure.
Jeff Blashill just, to me, screams a guy who knows the game of hockey and has an idea for what to do, but just is much better suited to be an assistant coach in an otherwise well-organized and established team before him. I think he thrived in Grand Rapids because that is more or less was an established system based off of what was happening in Detroit. Ken Holland and Mike Babcock put a lot of intentional effort into how their minor league system ran, and so it's not...
And we're not that far removed from when Larkin making the team as a rookie was an unheard of thing, so everyone in the Grand Rapids system was like a seasoned professional hockey player.
Yeah.
So the fact that those teams had success isn't really that surprising.
He doesn't seem like he knows how to foster success literally through the success of a hockey team, like through a well-established... He doesn't... It just... Watching this team screams, this guy doesn't know how to put it all together because he doesn't even know what all of it is. He doesn't know the pieces that he's missing.
Which is so crazy because he's won a championship at every single level. So to see a catastrophic just... I don't even know what to call it. It's just like why can't he put it together at this level? It's not like he has good players in Detroit. He had good players on these championship teams. Like it's not this crazy Rubik's Cube of success. Like I don't understand why he can't figure that out.
No.
Because there's a quote in the movie Moneyball that Billy Beane says that I think perfectly encapsulates why Blashill sucks as a coach in the NHL. When they're converting their system in Oakland, Billy Beane says, "Adapt or die." Blashill refuses to adapt. The system he was running 5 years ago, he still firmly believes is the system that should work in the NHL now, despite the fact that the game has radically changed over the last 5 years. It's faster, it's more offensive driven, it's more up-tempo. He refuses to adapt.
Blashill's desperately trying to get back to the team that nearly stole a series against Tampa Bay however long ago.
Yeah, that feels like a lifetime ago.
And again, we can even break down, in reality, why did Detroit almost steal that series? It was because Peter Mrazek was playing out of his damn mind. It had nothing to do with the team. Like, the Red Wings were playing good enough to back up an unbelievable goaltending performance, but realistically, Detroit wasn't the driver in most of those games. It was they were getting shelled, Mrazek was standing on his head, and Detroit was getting timely goals. Mm-hmm. That ain't going to happen now. Sorry. Goaltending's been a nightmare for Detroit for most of the season, so you might want to try and keep it out of your own zone.
Turns out the mental and physical trauma of being shelled for 45 shots a night for 5 years actually takes its toll on a goalie.
Jimmy Howard might be the first diagnosed case of PTSD from a hockey season.
I think Clint Malarchuk probably has that one.
Non-injury related.
Yeah. Jimmy Howard, we've probably exhausted... The Red Wings have probably exhausted every possible drop of, hey, I'm going to steal a game for you, despite the fact that you don't deserve it from him. There's just none left. They used it all up. It's all gone. And this is what they have left. These should be canonized, honestly. In whatever religion, I don't care. Just canonize him. He should have a statue. He'll, generations from now, when Detroit has won cups with future teams, or there's another star goalie, or they have the next best thing since Osgood or Hasek, Jimmy Howard will be forgotten for some time. We'll be the old people screaming about how Jimmy Howard was an under-recognized and appreciated goalie, and good old Jimmy, and Jimmy deserved way better. That
took a lot of hate from the semi-educated and lower fan base.
Yeah,
the fans who are Fairweather fans, they beat the living hell out of him.
The Facebook fans.
Well, I mean, they're at the bottom. There's another sub-level above, or
YouTube comment fans.
Yeah, there's a level above them somewhere.
Let's be real. Twitter fans. Some Twitter fans are not so.
We all have our hot takes.
Yeah. So there's somewhere between Instagram and YouTube.
Oh, Instagram's bad. Instagram's arguably worse than Facebook.
Ryan, let's not get too...
I don't know, man.
Let's see, just wherever the baby boomers are, really.
Yeah, truly.
On that note...
Moving forward... Evan, are you...
I know, it's already time.
We'd like to thank our special guest host, Evan Lobsinger, for coming to this podcast.
I've got contractual agreements with my beer league team to show up.
They made you sign a contract.
No, but if I don't show up, we lose pretty badly.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That sounds like another team you've played for.
Yeah. You know how you're talking about how it's all about the guys who can take the passes in their feet when the puck's bobbling? I have lived that for the past 4 years. If I got a tape-to-tape pass, I would probably stop playing because I don't know if I'd get any moment better than that.
I'll never forget one of the games you asked me to come out and fill in for your team because you guys were short, and in the room they're all talking about how this team was your big rival and every game was so close and it got so intense, And I think between
Was it my work league?
It was the one at the Sleeman Center in Guelph.
I can't... Was it the Dallas Stars jerseys?
Yes.
Okay, that team was a special... Okay, the team I play on now would handle that.
I was going to say, because they came out and I'm like, so Evan, like, there's going to be a good game. He's like, yeah, we almost always tie them. They beat us a bunch of times. And I think between me and you, we had 9 goals in the first period. And we're like, I think we got this.
And that was the league where it was basically like, if you have one good... every team has one decent player, and then if you have 2, you just run train on everyone. But now it's just like a bunch of guys who like work in the plants, and they just like take their frustration out at beer league hockey, and it is brutal.
Oh, you should have been at our game Monday. Literally bench clearing brawl. First one since minor hockey. I've never had so much fun.
Did you kill a man?
No, but I got sucker punched while on the bench. It was great.
I remember the first year I ever played with Brown Bradstein, the one guy threw the garbage bin on the ice, and we never saw him again.
Yeah, he literally just got kicked out of the game.
Packed his stuff up and left. No one ever heard from him again. He may have not have been real.
I'm glad you're okay.
Anyways.
Oh, the best part
That's
was...
where I'm off to.
Well, because I was on the bench, so like when I tried to matrix my way out of dodging the punch, I kind of fell onto the bench. And like I caught myself on my back arm, so I was kind of... Imagine me leaning backwards on the bench, supporting my body weight.
So long, Evan.
Goodbye.
On the floor, so I didn't actually do a backflip. I don't think my hand hit the floor, and Crystal was standing next to me on the bench when this happened. She was already full haymaker. And the dude wasn't wearing a face mask because he was one of those heroes in the beer league, and she just caught him straight in the nose, and then he went at her. He actually grabbed her, tried pulling her over the bench, and when that happened, everybody was in.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's dumb.
Everybody came in, and so he's trying to pull Crystal over the boards. Then I'm trying to pull Crystal back into the bench. 2 or 3 of our guys are feeding this guy. They're like, "Are you really going at the girl?" Our goalie comes in to break it up. Their goalie comes down the ice. One of their guys gets to our goalie first and somehow separates his shoulder trying to jump on him. It was a disaster.
Bunch of meatheads you are.
We didn't do anything. It was 5-1 for us with a minute left, so you can imagine where their mindset was at. But yeah, if you're one of those heroes in beer league who decides that you need to start running around and hitting and punching people, you need to quit hockey.
Beer league, man.
Because we're all out there to, we had jobs to work the next day.
Yeah.
And the reason he even sucker punched me was because he was going at one of our other guys, and I told him to cool it.
Right, which is
not so politely, but
you shouldn't have done that, Brad.
No, why would I tell him to do that? I didn't insinuate that he was unemployed. Why do you ask?
I want to talk about one more thing.
So we're circling back to the Kings now, which
No, we're done with the Kings. Everyone has drawn their inference.
Yeah, my tangent's done.
Kings are bad. Red Wings are bad. Kings are doing things about it.
Red Wings aren't.
The Toronto Maple Leafs have to seriously be shopped. The sources for all of these are shady to me, and I never really buy into the sources themselves, but the Toronto Maple Leafs have to be shopping. Or at least considering offers for Nylander right now.
So teams I have heard that have made serious inquiries about Nylander that came from reputable sources include the Carolina Hurricanes, who are now struggling to score after their hot start, the Minnesota Wild, and shocking, the LA Kings.
I think that makes sense for all of them.
I don't see what LA could offer Toronto to pry Nylander out of there. Minnesota and Carolina both have young, intriguing defensemen. That would make sense for Toronto. Who is that young, intriguing defenseman in LA? Because Toronto's not going to want to take another forward back for Nylander when they're not struggling to score goals without him.
No, they won't.
They just put up a 5 spot on Pittsburgh without Nylander and without Austin Matthews. They do not need a forward. They are silly if they're not at least considering the idea of shopping Nylander right now because, again, if Carolina picks up the phone right now and they're like, hey, I'm just going to arbitrarily pick a defenseman and some picks here. Justin Falk in a second. Or Brett Pesce in a second. Or, we'll throw in some forward if you're looking for someone to replace Nylander. So it's like, hey, we'll give you Brett Pesce and Warren Foegele. Why would Toronto not consider something like that right now? Shore up your defense, which isn't great. You're scoring without Nylander. He's apparently asking for a contract that you can't afford. Why not bring in a guy on like a Brett Pesce on a $4 million contract, wherever he's on? And let's be honest, for everybody who's keeps on throwing it out there, William Nylander is not worth a Jacob Slavin or a Dougie Hamilton, so stop asking. Because that's not... If you're trading with Carolina, you're getting a Falk or a Pesce. You're not getting Slavin or Hamilton. Unless Toronto acts.
Why not?
Because Jacob Slavin is probably the most underrated defenseman in the league, and Dougie Hamilton will score almost as many goals as Nylander by himself, because he usually puts up close to 20 a year.
If I'm Kyle Dubas, I consider letting him ride out if he passes the December 1st deadline, and I don't have a deal on the table that makes sense in terms of a contract, or I don't have a deal on the table that makes sense in terms of a trade. I let him ride out the year without playing, or I would at least consider that.
He'd probably, if I was Nylander, and for anybody who doesn't know, if there's not a contract signed by December 1st, he is not eligible to play in the NHL this year. He would probably go play in like the Swiss League or Sweden.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just
I would rather, because you're not going to, when you trade a superstar in a holdout situation, especially a young guy like that with so much value in his career left, you're not going to get the right value back for him.
You're not going to get the right value, but again, here's the thing you have to consider if you're Toronto. Cap space is an asset. They are a prime candidate to see the first real serious offer sheet in the NHL in a long time coming next summer between Matthews and Marner. Mm-hmm. They're probably losing Jake Gardiner to unrestricted free agency. This is a team right now that is primed to take a step backwards next year based on their cap situation. Again, I'm just using Brett Pesce as an example out of Carolina. It could be a Matt Dumba in Minnesota. It could be a Jonas Brodin. It could be whoever. Pesce makes like $4 million. So yeah, does a Brett Pesce and a first or a second round pick equal William Nylander? No, it does not. Does Brett Pesce, a pick or a prospect, and an extra $4 million of cap space equal William Nylander? Well, maybe then, because you can keep the gang together. And again, it's not like Toronto's getting killed without Nylander. They are one of the highest scoring teams in the league without him. Again, they just put up a 5 spot on Pittsburgh without Nylander or Matthews.
Zadina scored twice today.
Did he?
Yeah.
Last I saw it was 3-2 and he had none.
Yeah, I think the game finished 8-4 or something.
Okay, what the hell?
Yeah.
Grand Rapids had the 8 or the 4?
The 8.
Dope.
They scored like 6 unanswered goals or something.
Dope. Hopefully Zadina's weren't the 7th and the 8th. Let's hope for the 4th and the 5th.
Yeah, for real.
But yeah, so again, if I'm Toronto, again, here's the thing that drives me nuts. GMs who take the ultra-conservative approach. You want to win? Do something. What's the best predictor of the future? The past. Toronto right now is constructed as the 2008-2009 Washington Capitals were. All top, no bottom. And an alright goaltender. They always floundered in the playoffs, and even you look at Toronto the last couple of years, they haven't got out of the first round. Why? Their defense. You have a prime opportunity. Because here's the thing, too. And again, whether people want to admit it or not, optics matter in the NHL. If William Nylander had signed on August 1st to a decent contract and was playing this year and Kyle Dubas traded him, even for a decent return, the media and the fan base would have his head. Nylander's held us so long now, the media and the fan base has turned on him. Fairly or not. Again, it's dumb that they've turned on him, but they have. So Dubas could trade a massive asset to plug a massive hole on this team, and the optics would be good for him. This is, if he's ever going to make a big move to shore up the defense, this is his only opportunity. Because he will not have the cap space for an Erik Karlsson next year. Hell, he might not have the cap space to retain one of his key defensemen in Jake Gardiner right now.
He could have an Arizona-like deal next year where he gives up an asset in paired with a bad contract to have someone else.
Here's the thing. Now, this is a testament to how good Toronto's managed their team over the last few years. Look at all the big contracts on Toronto. Which is the bad one?
Oh, I mean, they'd want to move Zaitsev if they got a chance, I'm sure.
Nobody's touching that contract. That is a Danny DeKeyser contract.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You move it with an asset.
It's easy to move an asset if there's a year or two left. Arizona's like, no, we're not taking this hand grenade for the next 5 years. Teams will take on a bad contract for 1 or 2 years. If you could move a bad contract with term, Detroit would be in a far better position right now. Yeah, you can't. True. Those contracts don't move.
I just assume better things happen to other teams.
Patrick Marleau has a no move. Like, his contract is bulletproof. You cannot
that
do
was
anything.
Such a phenomenally stupid deal to sign.
You know what? I called that everybody was happy when that signed, and I think we came on this podcast.
We said
that was horrible and unbelievably dumb because of this exact scenario playing out. So, you know what? Pat on our backs. We were right for once.
Way to go, all three of us.
But yeah, so again, I'm never the guy to say a trade is going to solve all your problems.
I'll say that sometimes.
But, man, if Toronto's ever going to do something.
But the potential's there. I'm going to take this chance to move us into overtime. Overtime is, of course, brought to you by our Patreon patrons who get their comments read out on air, guaranteed as our way of saying thank you for supporting the show. We're going to start with Justin Klinsky. He says, "Howdy boys, locked myself out of the apartment again, so I had to do the thing again. While convincing myself to land on my patio, 4 cars drove by. I realized the whole thing looked sketchy as hell. Anyways, I keep focusing on the 2020 draft class over the 2019 draft class. I don't know why, besides Lafreniere, obviously. I had my eyes set on Barron, Byfield, Raymond, and Perfetti. Anyways, happy daylights thing. That was my birthday gift to the world. Another hour of sleep. You're welcome."
I forgot about that. I was way too late.
Lafreniere is a freak. Watching him is you're just like this. He's a freak.
Yeah, he's going to be legitimately good. I don't know if he's better than Jack Hughes, but he's in the same category.
Yeah, and to have that year after year is spoiled.
And Lucas Raymond and Alexander Holtz right behind him are also
Alex Holtz.
Real good. Wow. Oh my god.
What?
They play on the same line. There's a Raymond Holtz line.
Huh. Look at that.
Why have I never put this together before? That was a Brooklyn Nine-Nine reference for those of you that don't watch the show.
Dan Bell says, "Hey gents, how about them Wolverines? Go blue." That was a good old-fashioned ass whooping. Arsenal and Liverpool had a fantastic 1-1 draw. All I needed was a Wings win to complete my weekend. Oh well, a loss isn't all bad. That means Blash is one tiny baby step closer to getting fired.
So you think.
Megan actually doesn't look bad. He's like Abby, just better, younger, and cheaper. Maybe the Wings should do something about that. Anywho, hope you like the chicken wing video I posted on the Patreon page. I didn't see that, but I will take a look. Hope Amazon finally shipped your Red Dead 2. I just got it. I have not installed it yet because it takes a million years. It's awesome. Snuggles and I are struggling with being honorable or not. Thoughts on what direction to go? Cheers. I don't know. I haven't played the game yet, but I will get back to you on that. Kaylin Wood says, "Hey, so yesterday I was watching the Pistons get manhandled by the Sixers and then witnessed a kind of fun but ultimately a bummer on a Wings loss. Now I'm preparing myself for a Lions L." Yep, that was bad.
I didn't see who'd they play.
Minnesota. I don't want to talk about it.
Well, Buffalo handled them. And then got handled by every other team in the league.
The worst part about all this, I'm spending damn near $600 in services to watch my favorite teams get pummeled. Well, at least no one can call me fair weather. Do you have a brand, like clothing or electronics, etc., that you feel an inexplicable loyalty to? I'm crazy about Sennheiser audio equipment, and there's the company called Yeti down here that makes these absolutely absurdly priced coolers that I can't help myself but want. Do I need a bear-proof cooler that can keep my shitty beer warm for weeks? No. Do I own one? Damn right, I love them. Anyway, hope I get this in time since someone decided to post this at 1:20 whatever in the morning, the day of recording. Let's go Red Wings, but not too much. We still want Jack Hughes. That was me. I did it after my birthday party. I may have been inebriated. But I got it up. And we did an evening podcast, so we had plenty of time. Brand that we're inexplicably loyal to. You know what? I'm not inexplicably loyal, but a brand that makes great quality stuff that people don't appreciate because it's kind of like seen as a younger, like for teenagers, but American Eagle makes quality clothes.
I was going to say, for clothes, I have an affinity for Old Navy just because they're actually producing quality for unbelievably cheap. Like, you can get t-shirts there for like $5 when they're on sale. It's fantastic. And their flex jeans are the greatest invention in the history of life. For like the one place where I actually tend to get a little loyal to brands is hockey equipment. And it's not that I'm loyal to one brand for all my hockey equipment. It's for certain pieces of equipment. Like, I will only use CCM sticks. I will only buy Bauer gloves. I would only buy Easton skates forever till they discontinued, and now I'm trying out some CCMs and they're not bad. But gloves and stick, I can't ever switch. CCM stick, Bauer gloves. Have to. Bauer's got the wide cuff, which I like. Every other one hugs too narrow, and I feel like I lose a bit of mobility on it, but that's just me.
I'm a MacBook person, and I'm not going to say that I will only buy MacBooks for the rest of time. Both MacBooks that I've owned, I've had the black plastic MacBook, and now I have a 2013 MacBook Pro, are phenomenal machines. I don't like the touch bar MacBooks, and I think MacBooks are absurdly priced now. A Pro cost me about $2,000 when I bought it, and now I would be paying $1,000 more than that, which is insane.
I will never pay that for a laptop.
But I love this machine, and I'm going to ride it till it dies. Yeah, besides that, I'd have to think about it. I generally try to do as much research as I can before buying any single anything. And so, That's usually what's my downfall.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, like, everything significant in my house, like, I have different brand TVs, my audio equipment's different brands, although we do use Sennheiser mics for this podcast, so there you go, you can really...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't have that thing.
Clayton Van Dyken says, "Hey guys, hope you're doing well. I know Double A has been injured as of late, but did it bother anyone else when he moved to the wing? I thought he played very well at center personally."
He did, but whatever. I don't care. That's one of those minor things that Detroit's got so many centermen. If they feel AA is better on the wing, fine. We have Valeno coming up. Helm can play center if we need to. Nielsen will be back. Rasmussen can play center. I don't care.
He says, "Ryan, did you get Red Dead 2 yet? If not, that's a damn shame. I got it." So fun little hypothetical scenario here. The Wings somehow get rid of every veteran defenseman by the summer. What UFAs, if any, would you like them to get? You can't say Carlson because that's too easy. I personally like Gardner for the right price. Gardner has had his blemishes, but overall I think he's a great number 3 guy. Also, good interview last time around. Thank you. On a different note, since you guys talked about music last... let's do the defenseman first.
Okay, so I'm going to get you off the Gardner train right now because Friedman and a couple other guys are reporting they think he'll get around $7 million.
Oh, my goodness.
So that's a hard no. If we're looking at a short-term fix, I don't hit Alex Edler. Again, short-term, just... same with Anton Strawman if you're looking at a couple older options. Outside of Carlson, though, there's nobody I like in this market. I say you throw all your chips in the Carlson basket, and if you don't get him, you ride it out. You don't pick up anybody.
I agree with you that you don't, like, we gotta stop, the team has to stop the Trevor Dailies.
Yeah, like,
Sure they do.
Again, if we're getting a veteran just as a stopgap because if you lose Eriksson, Daly, Cronwall this year, you need to fill those spots somehow, and you literally can't ride out 5 or 6 rookies and sophomores next year. Edler and Strawman are the 2 I would look at, but again, I don't love those options.
He says, on a different note, since you guys talked about music last week, do you guys have any guilty pleasures? I know they're cheesy, but I love me some Sabaton. I guess Mumford is a guilty pleasure now. I don't like any of their recent stuff, but...
Guilty pleasure? So you actually have to feel, like, bad about listening to it?
Yeah, I'm not... Oh, I love, like, stupid trap rap music, especially in the gym, like, just dumb. Like, Dip by Tyga has been on repeatedly for me, which is just, it's hysterical. Migos. I love Migos. I will live...
And I'm from a different era as you, because the names running through my head are, like, so different. Because, like, I don't care what anybody says, Katy Perry has some bangers. I will listen to.
You say that's a different era? It's the same
Not
era.
different, but, like, if you go back to the songs I'm talking about, these are all the ones that came out back in, like, 2010. That was her peak, and I can listen to those.
That's like 10 years ago. I was alive at that time.
Yeah, you were like 6 though, so.
Stupid.
But
it's just different genres.
That's my guilty pleasure. She's
Finally, what are you guys' go-to cocktails, if any? I had a dark and stormy made with pear juice the other day, and it was freaking amazing.
I like me an old fashioned. There's a restaurant in Toronto called Jacob's I was at. They did a couple of their own custom cocktails, and I had one there that was so unbelievably good, and I cannot remember for the life of me what it is, and it's killing me. So if anybody's been to that restaurant, throw out some suggestions at me until it hits me, because I need to know.
Besides that, I love pina colada. Those are great. Yeah. Moving on. Russ Parsons says, "Hey Brad and Ryan, possibly Evan." Just missed him. Sorry for leaving you guys in the off season, but I'm back. With MGM Resorts partnership, do you see any changes at Little Caesars for sports betting? Also, are you in favor of it? Yes, I see changes coming. A lot of teams are doing sports betting lounges. You bet the Illiches are going to capitalize on that, and you bet I'm in favor of it. More money into the game, more money for the game to grow, more attention from fans who otherwise would not have paid attention to hockey. Yes, 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 yes.
From a business standpoint, I love this. It's gonna, like Ryan said, it's gonna bring a ton more money in. It should help grow the game. Yada yada yada. From a hockey culture standpoint, I'm gonna hate this because I already think people like I enjoy our fantasy hockey league, the one league I play in, and I will casually talk about it every once in a while. But there's already too many people who live and die by fantasy hockey and talk more about fantasy hockey than they do the actual goddamn game. So this is just going to exacerbate those idiots, and I'm already not looking forward to it. But hey, whatever. If the cap goes up, the Red Wings spend to the cap, so, I'm all for it.
Moving on, Joe Caboose 119Z Falzone says, what storylines of the season do you see as sustainable and unsustainable? I personally don't see how Vancouver stays on top of the league. But
No,
I said the same thing about Vegas last year, so...
I don't see LA being this bad the full year.
Agreed.
Again, as sad as it is to say, I don't see Yoka Haru and Lajoie and Cholowski keeping up this ridiculous of a pace all year. What ones do I see sustaining?
I see Arizona being a good team sustainable. I think they just had a slow start.
Fun fact, apparently John Gibson and Ante rank to have the 2 highest career save percentages over some...
100 games played. Minimum 100 games played,
yeah.
Which is a difficult... Because, like, that's not... 100 games to 900 games changes a lot.
Oh, it does. But I do see the Gibson factor being sustained the rest of the year. I think John Gibson is that good. So that I don't see him falling off despite the fact that the team in front of him is an absolute train wreck. I'm trying to think of another one that seems unsustainable that I think might actually hold up, but I can't think of one off the top of my head. I think Edmonton's going to stay in the playoff spot.
Stan Olsen says, hey guys, hope all is well. Red Dead has been dictating my life. That game is so freaking amazing. How about the Wolverines this year? Revenge tour. The Red Wings
lost the first game and they've been just dummying everybody since.
I know. The Red Wings suck and I'm only thinking about the draft now. Yeah, well, glad you had the pod.
We're right here with you.
Joe Deppy says, guys, I joined a floor hockey league last week and was labeled a weirdo in a good way because I shoot right while being right-handed. Is that actually weird? Yes.
What? I'm right-handed and I shoot right.
It's weird. So I'm left-handed and I shoot right. Typically, and this isn't a hard and fast rule, like it gets broken quite a bit, but in general, you skate with the dom. So a right-handed player will skate in the stick with it, like when has one hand on the stick in his left hand, and then vice versa. Right-handed guy, like a guy who shoots left-handed will hold the stick in his right hand while he's skating, like free skating.
I don't understand. I've heard that and I never understand it because what's your control hand on your stick? It's your bottom hand. That's the one you're putting the power on in the shot.
The control is the top.
The control is the top in terms of positioning, but in terms of actual movement and aiming and power, it's your bottom hand.
The bottom is power.
Which is you want your dominant, strong hand to be. Like, my left hand is functional enough that, like, when I'm reaching for a puck or when I'm angling the stick, it's fine. But in terms of actual control, my right hand on the bottom feels right.
No, you're wrong. The control hand is your dominant. It isn't a hard and fast rule, but conventionally, your dominant hand in, like, for say writing, holds the stick.
Yes,
yeah,
right-handed as well. I do everything right-handed, literally everything, and I'm right-handed. I shoot right, swing right, golf right, throw right, tennis, rackets in my right hand, hockey, my right hand's my power hand.
And when you do see deviations away from that, it does veer towards the right because people's right sides of their bodies are generally more developed. And so for you, Brad, it makes sense that you're using your right side for power, even if that's your control side as well. You're going to see very few people who are going to be you, but on the flip side, on the left side, because that would be actually weird. But yeah, it's not like it flips over quite a bit, but it's why you see so few right-handed defensemen, for example. It's just not typically how it goes, but
it's not that uncommon to see right-handed. Like, I'm pretty sure Ovechkin and Stamkos are right-handed and everything, and they shoot right, and they're fine.
Did you know that they're right-handed and everything?
I'm pretty positive I've seen something about that. I could be wrong. I might be thinking of other players, but
it's again not hard and fast. General, if you're going by general convention, that's how it goes. Ryan Pratt says, hey guys, just wanted to say love the 2 pods a week. I listen on my 45-minute drive to work. Oh, and how about that 3-game win streak? Keep up the great work.
How about that?
So many curly fries. It was genuinely, to draw on the positives, because I'm afraid we didn't do that a lot this episode, it was fun to see the team win 3 times in a row. It really was.
Watching winning hockey is fun every once in a while. My motto for the year is if I'm watching the game, I want them to win. If I'm not, I want them to lose.
Chris Canal says, hey guys, hope you're all going great. When you guys play hockey, do you have a certain move you would do in a shootout, or would you just shoot? I was a defenseman, and I was not an offensive defenseman, and so my move would be just like a fake shot, left, right, left, hope I deke the goalie. And if he doesn't, then meh.
Yeah, lateral movement's one of my strong points in the game, so my go-to, and if it's like, I've got a lot of tricks in my bag that in a shitty men's league I love trying all the time. Like right now I'm actually working on the Datsu flip, and I'm not bad at it. But if I'm actually trying, my number one go-to, so I'm a right-handed shot, I'll come down the left side, line up like I'm going to take a shot, fake the shot, step hard to the right so the goalie thinks I'm going to try tucking far pad, and just stopping dead and coming back to the backhand. And it, like, most goalies conventionally are left-handed, and if you pull that off without the puck bobbling or hitting a rut, it's almost impossible to stop because the goalie's sliding the other way. Even if he's tall enough to keep his leg there, you have the puck in such a prime position that you can get it up no problem. So as long as the puck doesn't bobble and you don't bobble it, there's almost no way to miss that move.
He continues to say, also, has Cholowski played well enough for you guys to think that he could be a number 1 D-man? Or do you still think that he's more likely a good 3 or 4 guy? Thanks for all the hard work and have a good one.
I'm standing by I think he's a good number 2. I haven't really
I think a good number 2 is a true number 1, really. Like, what's the hard...
For Detroit, yeah. Do I think Cholowski is going to ever be a Norris candidate? Top 10 defenseman in the league? No, I don't think that. While the Red Wings are bad, yeah, he'll be the number 1, but if the Red Wings actually want to be a cup contender, they're going to need someone else.
Cholowski can't be Detroit's best defenseman. When this is all
that's the reality. Could he be the best defenseman on this team? Yeah, he probably already is, but does that mean Detroit's going to win championships? No.
I would say his best case scenario right now is good number 2. So I've put that in a lower likelihood of happening, but it's attainable. I wouldn't put that out of the realm of possibility, but I do think that's best case scenario.
He could be candidate for like a 1A, 1B scenario. So again, let's just say the Red Wings in the next draft don't win the lottery and end up drafting Bowen Byram or Philip Broberg, and they get to be the level about as good as Cholowski is, if not a hair better. That's an alright scenario. So is Cholowski your true number 1? No, but he's kind of quasi number 1. There's a scenario where that could work. I think his skill set's high enough that that could work. But again, that's still predicated on someone else coming in.
We have time for some questions from our Reddit thread. Southern Wing 97 said, I heard another podcast suggesting with a few teams having injury problems in goal but potentially still hoping to make playoffs, the time to shop Jimmy is now rather than waiting for the deadline. What do you guys think? There won't be buyers for Jimmy Howard.
No, especially with Bobrovsky on the market. Maybe, but...
Jimmy Howard would warrant a 6th at this point.
No, he would get more than a 6, but he would get probably a pretty similar return to what Mrazek did next year, because you got to look at their value in comparison. Howard has that consistency over the course of his career, so you know what you're getting, so there's a little more certainty in buying Jimmy Howard than there was Peter Mrazek, so that's a plus. Jimmy Howard's like 34 years old or whatever he is. There's no room for improvement. You're not buying Jimmy Howard hoping he's going to be better than he is, whereas with Peter Mrazek, there was like, well, yeah, there's room to grow here, so he's worth taking a gamble on. So if Mrazek got you a 3rd round pick, Jimmy Howard will get you a 3rd round pick, a 2nd if enough teams have goalie injuries, and there becomes a buyer's market, which, again, you look at LA, let's just assume Jonathan Quick is out for the year. They're more likely to look at Sergei Bobrovsky because, again, they're in we have to win now mode, so they'd be looking to do something more drastic. And again, there's not a ton of teams having goaltending issues right now in terms of, like, health. So
yeah, their goaltending issues aren't so bad where they would be looking to buy a Jimmy Howard.
Yeah.
He goes on to say, what would be a fair return for Nyquist? At this point, I think Nyquist, if he keeps this level of play, and this is take it with a grain of salt, because I'm not removing subjectivity from this, I think he'd be worth a 1st.
Depends on the team. So if it's a team that's acquiring Nyquist to be that final step to get them in the playoffs, so you're looking at like pick 15 to 20, yeah, nobody's going to give that for Nyquist. So you're probably looking at a 2nd round pick and a half decent prospect. So to take an example out of that, if you're looking at Columbus, who they decide to go for this year, you're looking at a 2nd and maybe I'm not overly familiar with this system, of Abramov, a gamble prospect.
That's why it has to be a gamble.
Yeah. Or if you're looking at a team like Toronto, who they know they're going to finish top 5 in the league, yeah, they're probably not going to be too rattled giving up like pick 27 or 28. So
no.
Then you would see a 1st coming back for Nyquist. Because again, it's easy to say a player's worth a 1st in a prospect or he's worth a 2nd in a prospect, but in terms of trade value, there's a huge difference between pick 16 and pick 30. So you have to factor that in.
Cross Crease passes. Did you guys see the article about Z from this week that went more in depth about his back problems? It seems to be an issue for him since 2006. Crazy to think that he could have done what he could have done without having to deal with those issues for most of his career. Yeah, like, again, this isn't, his back problems were kind of, it's not a surprise, and it's been well known that he's been fighting these discs and surgeries, and recurring issues for a long time, but that issue, I think, or that article, I think it was from Greg Krupa, the Detroit News. Forgive me if I'm getting that wrong, but do find, I think I retweeted it, is a great read. It also goes into great insight into Zetterberg's relationship with Babcock. Again, a lot of people were acting surprised that him and Babcock didn't get along. It was pretty well publicized. In his second to last or third to last year, there was some pretty public spat between Zetterberg and Babcock, and I say spat kind of over emphatically. It wasn't a real spat, but disagreements as far as hockey goes. But definitely worth the read. We have time for one more question, and I think it'll have to be OSBP. He says, sitting in New York on a layover to Florida, I have learned to completely ignore everyone around me, focus only on myself, and walk into motherfuckers as a way of expression. That truly the only way to exist in an airport if you're exhausted. I'm here because Chicago's amazing public transit made me 45 minutes late for my direct flight. Brutal luck. That is awful. I'm so sorry. Ryan, you're censoring the patrons now. That's some shit. We all know this podcast is pay to play, you frickin' twat. Let the people speak. Bill Burr didn't become one of the biggest podcast hosts by watching his mouth, you pansy. Grow up, shave that beard. Will never happen. And break 6 foot, you short excuse for a man. Okay, you know what? That got personal. And doctors said it would break 6 feet my whole life, and here I am, telling everyone I'm 6'2", laughing and then saying I'm really 5'11", when really I'm just a touch under 5'10". I don't want to talk about it. Brad and Evan never stop Frenching each other so you don't get sick together. Or stop Frenching each other so you don't get sick together.
Brian's the one who usually gets sick.
I've been more healthy than you guys lately.
Yeah, well, I have a kid now, so it's expected.
I see another question that I like. Yoster says, who on this current roster would you like to see as a future color commentator for the Wings?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Dill Daddy. He dressed up as Mickey Redmond for Halloween.
Okay. There's only one correct answer.
Here comes Brad's sweeping declaration.
It's Luke Witkowski.
Oh yeah,
It's Luke Witkowski.
Yeah.
You can tell that filter isn't fully functional there, and I'm here for it.
Yeah.
He'd be the new Mickey Redmond.
Yeah, Witter's good. Witter's a good one. Ando772 says, bit of a game comparison, so to speak, of young players now compared to players of the past. Who do they compare to in your eyes?
Are we talking about just Red Wings?
Yeah. He's comparing Larkin to Yzerman, Rasmussen to Mule, Cholesky to Lidstrom, Athanasi to Datsuk, Mantha to Shanahan, Bertuzzi to Todd Bertuzzi, Hickes to Rafalski. And I think he's not saying like they'll end up like those guys, but if we had to draw
if you're going stylistically, okay, I'll just go through the key players and some of the young guys. Yeah, Larkin's the Yzerman of this team. I can see that. I'd say Anthony Mantha's more of the mule, the big streaky scorer. Rasmussen's more Holmstrom. Nyquist would be the... Man, Nyquist is weird. Can't really think of anybody.
Nyquist is like Samuelson? I don't know.
No, Nyquist is
Nyquist
like...
is better than Samuelson. He's different.
But even like stylistically, Nyquist is like a water bug. I almost want to say he's like Sergei Samsonov, but I don't know if he ever played for the Wings.
Maybe in 02. Everyone played for the Wings in 02.
Right. Who else? Cholowski's more Rafalski.
Yeah.
Cholowski is more...
There is no Lidstrom on this team.
No, there is not.
It's hard.
Shulak is what we all hoped Eriksson would be.
No. We never thought... We thought Eriksson would be... We thought Eriksson to Kaiser would be the same thing. Fundamentally sound players who were not phenomenal in any individual aspect, but would just do something. Just, well, like all around... Like, just all-around good guys who could slot in on the second pairing and just be incredibly effective. If we needed them to shut down, they would shut down. If we needed them on the second pairing on the power play, we'd have them on the second pairing
and
on the power play.
Athanasiou is Fedorov. Just that something could happen every time they touch the puck. That ability to create something from nothing.
Yeah.
Now, when the puck's off their stick, oh my god, are they different players, but they both had that element to their game, which was fun.
Not that these are comparisons or they'll end up like these people. We're just having fun.
Stylistically speaking.
And on that note of euphoria, we're going to wrap up this Sunday's episode. We would like to thank everyone for listening. All of you who support the show, the listeners, the subscribers, the Patreon patrons, you guys are amazing. I love you dearly. You're the only people I care about 25 years into my life. You guys and Mika, that's it. Especially our name-level sponsors, Andrew Hassenfratz, Sean Levine, Arden Shaker, Clayton Van Dyke, and Langenbeer, Derek Shippard, Kalen Wood, Charlie Elkins, Stan Olson, Ryan Lewis, Dan Bell, and Han Lee. Thank you guys so much. If you guys want to support the show in other ways, subscribe however you get your podcast. Hashtag do that thing on Spotify for the Winged Wheel Pod. Subscribe on iTunes. Leave us a rating on iTunes. That's amazing for us. Follow us on Twitter at Winged Wheel Pod. Go to our bio, our description, and follow our individual accounts. That's where we're the most active. We'll generally reply to anyone and everyone who wants to chat. We just like talking hockey, and we'll be back to do that later this week.
Do you have a script for all that?
We've done hundreds of these. I probably remember that better than I remember most things.